In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at some colder overall temperatures over the next few weeks. There is signs that we're going to be warming into the midpoint of March, but I've felt this way a few times during the winter. I was right with one of them as we were looking at early February from a few weeks out. That was a warmer time period overall, for a little bit at least. And we could be right, we could be wrong with this one, but the models are indicating, as well as the National Weather Service, that we could be warming up towards the midpoint of March. So we're going to be discussing that, but overall colder times ahead of that, also snow opportunities, as well as some severe weather opportunities within all of that. So let's just take a look at the overall upcoming pattern and kind of break it down. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook issued today. So this is for the 28th through the 4th of March. And we see overall warmer temperatures prevailing, not only for the western states, but this is stretching into the central states as well. Very, very warm overall. We do see colder temperatures for a lot of the mid-Atlantic and the northeast. We do see a lot of Florida here seeing some cooler temperatures as well. The rest of the east kind of near normal, so a cooler look overall here in the east. During this time frame, we will see near normal precipitation as well, with most of the activity being within kind of the central states, a little bit of the west as well. Interesting little period here. When we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, this one's pretty interesting. We do see this feature here, which I think could be pretty telling of what we could expect later on in March. This is for the 2nd through the 8th of March. So we see this cooling trend for the west. Typically, this would start to encourage warmth to move into the east at a certain point. So I think that we're going to be right around the corner from that here after the first week of March is up. We do see cold air lingering for a lot of the mid-Atlantic and northeast, but I think that that could be changing soon after this point. Precipitation will be on the increase for a lot of the east. A lot of this off the coast. A lot of this probably moving through the nation. And maybe even some clipper systems rolling through as well. It's going to lead to a lot of areas being above average precipitation. We do have a new 3 to 4 week outlook as well that came out yesterday. And this also indicates the cooler temperature anomalies over the west. This warmth spreading further eastward, mostly for the central states and a lot of the southeast, with equal chances over the mid-Atlantic and northeast. But I do suspect this could look quite a bit warmer as we have this negative PNA set up out west. All that means is cold temperatures in the west, and really it encourages warmth overall for the central and eastern states. Precipitation during this time frame would be above average for a lot of the east, and also for a lot of the northwest. When we take a look at the past 20 days of temperatures, this is going to be from the 2nd through the 22nd of February. What we see is cooler temperatures have really prevailed here, especially for the northwest into a lot of the north central states, but a lot of the Ohio Valley and northeastern states have also seen a colder February for a lot of this time frame. We can see that the southeast has held on to a little bit of warmth, but as we continue to see colder temperatures for a few days here, I suspect that we're going to see this area even begin to cool off, and we'll really end up with a colder February overall. This warmth also for the west, a little bit of the southwest here, kind of a glaring feature as well. I want to show you guys something a little bit different here too. This is the past 90 days, so this will be for the most part what the winter looks like so far. We're obviously getting a little bit of late November in on this as well, so this might evolve a tiny bit over the next week, but we're getting close to the end of meteorological winter, so I think it's fun to look at how things have gone overall. And it has been a warm southwest, so not a purely positive PNA, but we do see warmer temperatures up there in western Canada and also the southwestern states with a little bit of cooler temperatures in between. I think we would overall call this a positive PNA look. We see that these areas have been very cold through the northern plains, down into the Midwest and Central Plains, and then also a lot of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast, and even a lot of this stretching down into the Southeast. So a colder east overall has been the factor here for the most part during the winter. December, January, and February, all individually, have been colder than normal for most of these eastern areas. So very, very cold winter, and that's coming after, I don't even know, 4 or 5 warmer than normal winters in a row. Really, really crazy stuff. Let's take a look at the model guidance. I want to move into this and just take a look. Again, cooler for now. Going to be seeing an overall warmer trend, as well as more storms in general as well down the road. So very quiet for the rest of the evening. This evening, we do see a couple of features tomorrow for Sunday, and what we see is a storm system moving into the northwest. This is bringing snowfall to the northern Rockies, rainfall for a lot more of those coastal areas. And then we do have this kind of Gulf system here. It's now south of Louisiana. And if the jet stream was diving far enough south, like let's say if it was like this would likely be our next winter storm, but that is not the case. Your jet stream is kind of meandering across and sticking much further to the north. So the trajectory of this storm versus the jet stream is just too far apart, and we don't get a connection here. So let's see what happens. Let's take this towards Monday. And again, this low is much more over Florida than anything by Monday the 24th. And the jet stream is far, far, far away. We do see another storm system perhaps approaching the northwest. We also have a very strong system here near the Hudson Bay in Canada, bringing snowfall mostly just for Canada. So that's some of your main North American systems we see at that point. Tuesday afternoon, we do see, and this is what the models have been showing for days now, this storm does start to get a northern turn going, but it's way offshore. This is almost so far offshore that there's just no opportunity for a trend closer to the coast. It's just way too far off. So this is almost a non-factor, almost guaranteed. We do see a weaker low over the northeast and eastern Canada, and this is bringing some higher elevation snow showers, mostly just rain though for most areas. And we have a lighter storm system over the northwest extending into the northern plains. This is bringing some mountainous snowfall with it as well by Tuesday. As we take a look at Wednesday here on the 26th, we see this storm system over Indiana, northern Indiana, bringing some rain showers and snow showers with it, also ushering in warmer air to the west behind it and out ahead of it. So what we see is a warm front kind of developing there, and it's pulling colder air in. That's going to come in behind it. So for the northern plains and upper Midwest, colder temperatures, and that's going to extend in for a lot of the east after this system moves in. Also, over the coming frames, we are going to see this storm develop quite a bit more. So let's watch it play out. We see that low develop. We get a little bit of a cold front underneath, and what we see is some snowfall for northern New England here. Actually, pretty moderate to heavy snowfall. See this cold front dragging behind, so maybe some thunderstorms and heavier showers underneath here for parts of the southeast into the mid-Atlantic. Really, really interesting, and like I said, the cold air is being pulled back in here for the final 2 days of February. Warmer temperatures really prevailing here for almost the entire west. By Friday the 28th, what we're left with here is a really interesting point. I think right here, overnight Thursday into Friday, we're really close to seeing some sort of snow event for somewhere in here. We have the cold air really being pulled in. We have the low temperatures. This is 4 a.m. And yeah, this could be really close to seeing snow in here. Really, really close. But time will tell. This is about 6 days out, perhaps. So there's the clock is ticking. But we have some low pressure offshore, some storminess, and we have the cold air there. It's just all a little separated. So we'll see what transpires with that. We will be watching this final kind of day and a half of February into early March. Here is Saturday, March 1st. What we see is a stronger low between the Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes here. And this is also going to just encourage colder temperatures around the east in general. Still very warm in the west here. So that's remaining the main factor out there. By the time we look at Sunday, March 2nd, this kind of cooler regime in the east continues, but we start to see a trough building for the west finally. This also brings with it more stormy conditions here. And we're seeing a huge ridge for the central states here. So cold and snowy in the west, a little bit drier and a little bit warmer in the central states, and then cooler in the east, although I suspect that the west will be colder by this point than the east is. So that's kind of your March 2nd look. Let's take a look at Monday the 3rd here. And we start to get a more substantial storm system developing just to the east of the Rockies. This could be an interesting one. And meanwhile, we have a jet stream that's pretty volatile. I mean, we have a double dipping trough, one here for the west, which is the prominent one, but also a smaller one there in the east. And then likely we're getting some sort of warm front factor here to the east of this low. So we're seeing some warm push there to the east. And we're getting this cold front here, which is allowing for that cold to dive southward in the west. We'll be watching for rising thunderstorms throughout a lot of these areas. Really, really humid, really warm. Could bring about some thunderstorms, even severe weather with it, especially by Tuesday. I mean, this look is really intense. 991 there near Iowa and Illinois. Clearly, you have a cold front dragging here with some rising storms with that warm air. So by rising, I mean it's moving almost directly towards the north. It's being pulled in behind this warm front. Really, really an interesting look. I think that this area could see a thunderstorm event or even severe weather at some point during the early March timeframe. And we get kind of a mixed bag event here for the Midwest, but looks like it could be a snow system. especially if you're looking at some areas. Wednesday here, the 5th, we're beyond 10 days, to take it with a grain of salt for sure, but we end up with heavier showers and thunderstorms up and down the eastern seaboard. Your low is near the Great Lakes is a 985. We end up with a lot of snowfall over the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Let's take a look at Thursday here on March 6th. We end up seeing much cooler temperatures move in for a lot of the east, mostly a little warmer over the west, but this is a pretty flat jet stream. I mean, it's definitely bowed down, but really maybe large trough, if anything. As we move towards Friday the 7th, it's a lot of the same, and really as we move towards the 9th as well, all the way to the 9th, we're seeing a lot of the same. A low develops over Texas, snowfall for pretty far south areas across the plains, deep south here. We even have a nor'easter offshore of New England, but we're at hours 360, so you want to take it with a grain of salt, but this model is showing cold towards the end of this model run still. We'll have to see what this model shows, the GFS, and we'll look at the critical dates. So we'll move past everything that's happening right now. Here's this cold front Thursday into Friday. Gets a little bit more intense along the eastern seaboard there. And we don't get snow from this one either, but again, it's just a really close call. We get a clipper system move down into the northeast, definitely something to watch. We get this kind of lower mid-Atlantic storm system, no real low, but I would say your lower pressure is somewhere back here. We get some wintry weather here for these lower mid-Atlantic areas, and the main story is this massive storm out west. So we get a lot of these here in these model runs. This moves up, brings the Midwest some snowfall, and also the Northeast on the warm end of things, and then we end up with this kind of up and down the East Coast thunderstorm event for early March, just like the European model. This also pulls in cold air with it, just like the European model. Even on this frame, look at the Thursday the 6th. I mean, we are seeing snowfall for the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, Northeast here, mostly the interior areas, but still pretty telling there by Thursday. And then we're getting these storm systems rising up from closer to the Gulf, although this is 384 hours out. I mean, the likelihood of this occurring this way is very low. But we get a true nor'easter finally, 987, heavy snowfall for the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, even in the southern New England, and a more major storm system for the Northwest. But it looks like at this point, we're about to see some warmer air start to move in, mostly due to this cool down and snowy conditions in the Northwest. I really feel like we're warming after this point. The main factor is what we're seeing on the long-range model guidance and also from the National Weather Service picking up on that. That looks like a warming trend after this time frame, specifically after the first week of March. Might be starting around the 8th, 9th, 10th time frame of March here. We'll have to watch very closely. Here's the total precipitation on the European model. Northwest looks quite substantial. The East, although there's a good amount, is probably going to come in below average for almost everybody. When we look at the averages, it tells the full story. We do see some above average amounts here in the Northwest, some pretty well below normal amounts here in the Southwest, and then the East, just a little lackluster. Although there is precipitation, it's just pretty far below normal. And then we see the upper Midwest and Eastern Canada do quite nicely as far as that precipitation is concerned. When we look at the total snowfall in the European model, again, leaves a little bit to be desired unless you're in these far northern areas near the Midwest, Great Lakes, Northeast here looks quite healthy. A lot of the mountainous west here doing quite well also. GFS model, a little bit more optimistic. Again, the mountainous west doing phenomenal. So we see across a lot of the Midwest here doing better, especially in the lower areas. And then definitely the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and southern New England do a lot better here on this GFS model than the European model. Still some opportunity for snowfall. There's definitely colder times ahead, as I mentioned, but will we cash in or will we not? Because we saw plenty of cold times, as we looked at earlier. The past 90 days have been colder than normal, and so many people still really desire more snowfall. They're below average. So will we make up for it or will we not? Time will tell. We're going to continue to track it. And just like yesterday's video, I mean, we're at a really good point here because we have a few days to go until any of these storms really start to get going. That gives us some time to kind of watch what the models do before anything's really impacting us. So continue to tune in. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.